Oh, what's up, everyone? I'm Mike Roberts, founder and CEO of both FIFU and RivalFlow. And today I am absolutely stoked to show you what I think is a major step in RivalFlow's evolution. A couple of kind of bookkeeping things here is that this is definitely being recorded. We're live now, and we'll send you out the slides. We'll send you out the actual video, and you can drop your comments or questions in the comment stream, and we'll try to answer them somewhat live. Like Amanda's here and she is able to interrupt me. I can actually also see your comments, kind of. Like I can see them, they're off to the side of my screen, but I'm generally trying to like make eye contact with the camera. So that'll be something we'll look at probably about 15 slides in. So I think that's all I need to do. You can drop comments into the LinkedIn feed as well, or also inside of the StreamYard. I think we might be streaming this thing to our YouTube channel as well. Be sure to like follow us, like us, do all those things on RivalFlow on LinkedIn, and you can follow me at Mr. Spy on pretty much all of the channels, MRSPY, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. Okay, so. When we launched RivalFlow just about a year ago, our year anniversary is just coming up. And we had a vision, and its defining purpose of RivalFlow is summed up in the 5 words on our homepage, which is improve existing content with AI. And what I laid out in my launch presentation was an SEO workflow that could achieve what I felt like was pretty unheard of. It is first. Like the prime directive of RivalFlow, if you will, is first do no harm, right? I'll tell you this, I'm personally connected with this product. The first customer of RivalFlow is actually SpyFu. And so we sure as heck don't want to be in a position, I mean, obviously I don't want to mess up my own site, but the last thing that I want to do is give advice, actionable advice to you or anybody that says, that's going to mess you up, that's going to tank your rankings in 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I'll tell you a personal story later about how we use RivalFlow for my sister. And, so I want to be able to give this product to anybody and know in my heart of hearts that there's no way that it can mess you up, right? That's the goal. And that's actually pretty hard to come by. The second thing is to make it easy as possible. Easiness really gives us scale and also gives you leverage, right? As a potentially as an agency, it can save you money, it can save you time. And of course, most importantly, anything that we produce has to actually work, right? And so when I put all those bullets out there, it seems like this should be not really that big of a deal. It should be pretty straightforward, but each of those virtues kind of pull against each other. Maximizing one of them tends to minimize the other. Like things that are easy tend to either not work, or they're sketchy and they could cause you harm in the future, or things that work are either hard or again sketchy. So getting all 3 of those things to work together, it's kind of like the whole 3-legged stool concept, right? You take one away and the other one's and the stool falls. But it's very difficult, but we did it. We sort of unlocked this sort of holy trinity of SEO glory, where we got a process that really can't do harm, right? I mean, if you think about it, all we're doing is improving your content. We're answering the questions that users have when they come to the site, and we're doing it a little bit better than you used to. And this is like in line with everything that Google has been doing as long as I've been watching, as long as they've been a company, really. You type in a search in Google, they want to deliver you to a page that answers that question, right? That delivers the result that you're looking for. And so that the way that they test that is that you don't return to Google and do another search, right? And so what we do is we make sure that we're answering those questions, and that's 100% in line with helpful content. Google Search Liaison says if you're producing answering questions that users have, you're likely producing user-centric, helpful content. So we've got this process that does no harm. It's incredibly easy, and now finally we have a ton of real world, real customer, thousands of results where we can say for certain that it works incredibly well. And so what we launched was a sort of minimum viable product of that vision. If you're not familiar with what RivalFlow does, real quickly, when your competitor is beating you in the SERP, when they stole your top spot or any spot really, we answer the question, why does Google think their page is better, right? Why does Google think their page is better than your page? Well, this is like an unanswerable question until RivalFlow, until now, right? Until a year ago, right? And so what we do is we use AI to read your page, and then we read your competitor's page, and we say, what questions are they answering that you're not? And what questions are they answering more thoroughly? And then, of course, we help you fill in those gaps, right? And so what we launched a year ago was a sort of version of the product that did the things that it needed to do. It recommends the pages to improve. It identifies the competing pages, and it did a pretty darn good gap analysis. And even to a small degree, it would write the improvements for you. But honestly, the content that it generated was much more of a hypothetical starting point. I think we actually might have said something like, here's the AI generated answer to the question that you can use as a starting point. Really, the core value that we were aiming for was the analysis, the gap comparison. And so one of the major themes in this release, this 2.0 release, and a lot of the improvements that you see are this massively improved output that blends perfectly with your page. Like, it's designed to flow into your content, and it's absolutely intended for you to just copy and paste right onto your page, right? And we even show you right where to put it. So, this is a question that you may have or may not have, but we have this sort of debate internally pretty often. Like, why do a minimum viable product? Why not wait until, the product is perfect to launch it? I honestly don't know if you're asking yourself this, but we ask it, what needs to go into the first release? What can we cut? What has to be in? Why don't we wait until we built every feature that we can think of and then release it? I'll tell you why. I've been building products for basically my entire adult life since I was 19 years old, and every product that I've ever built was my favorite. That's right. And I put my heart and soul into every one of them. And this is actually, Amanda, this is not me today, you guys. If you can tell, my grizzled old face is not that face. That's a 24-year-old Mike Roberts. And these are products that I built, right? And I put my heart and soul into every one of them. And guys, I love building products. I love solving these problems. It's not work to me. It's what I do. This is my thing. And the more I build, the more passionate I get about the product. And I just moved my slide before I was ready. And the more I build, the more passionate I become about the product, and the clearer my vision of what the product should be becomes. But here's the thing: the one thing that I've learned about building a product is when you launch, you're wrong about something, right? But you don't know what it is, right? And so it's your goal, it's your job, as the product people, to figure out what those things are that you don't know. And don't get me wrong, RivalFlow 1.0 was actually an amazing release, a great release. It actually concisely conveyed exactly the problem we were solving, which is hard to do. You generally won't, sometimes things can be big platitudes, right? But RivalFlow improves your existing content with AI. It's a very tight edge, right? Oh no, the camera's going to start following me now. Hold on. And so here's another sneak preview of what we only know now because of the 2.0 release. That original release delivered a ton of value for those original customers. Look at this. These are early RivalFlow customer accounts. And this is when this line right here that you can see is when they published their RivalFlow content. And this lift right here, right? The RivalFlow lift that you can see on my shirt, I guess, right here. That is what we see on thousands of pages across hundreds of customer accounts that have connected to Google Search Console. And that, to me, that truth of delivering that value is incredibly it gives me purpose and a lot of happiness, frankly, like deep happiness. It's hard to describe, but and so that's the thing. Before we launch, RivalFlow is our product. We've known it since it was a wee proof of concept. It started out in my brain, and we love it and can barely see its flaws. But once we launch, it becomes your product, and so we prioritize what you want the product to be. It's sort of difficult thing to do is when you kind of like come up with the idea and you put it out there to sort of transfer that ownership, but it really does become your product. And we definitely had a vision of what it should become, what should come next, and sometimes we were right, but I'll guarantee you that the order of what we did changed, but we were definitely wrong about some things, and you showed us what those were. And sometimes we weren't sure what the right next step was, and you showed us that next path. Some of the ideas came directly from customers as direct suggestions. Some of them came from sales conversations, and some of them came in from support, right? Some of them came from looking at usage patterns of, so like one of the things that I do is I look at people that have signed up, and every day, about 4 days a week, I look at who signed up and what like the first experience was. What was the action stream look like? What did your first writing project look like? And I look for any kind of flaws or things that I feel like we could improve. I also look at these, right? I make sure that none of these are going down, right? I'm showing you these sort of what you probably perceive to be cherry picked, but I'll tell you that the truth is we see two types of RivalFlow charts. One goes up like this, and the other is just flat. What we don't see are things like this. And if we do ever see those, I'm in there looking at those the day it happens, right? And usually when we see something like this, it's because there's it's a 301. My heart stops. I go in and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And lo and behold, it's actually an innocuous reason. So it's great. So in every way, this release is all about you. We're RivalFlow 2.0 is taking all of the things that you've done and all of the feedback that you've given us and putting it into this one release. And so since launch day, and this number, funny enough, I think when I made these original slides, I think it was like 570 improvements. And now on the slide, it's 620, but in reality, it's like 660 at this point because we continually release them. As soon as something goes out, we push it live. And the crazy thing is, over the last year, we've been prioritizing getting these improvements out the door as fast as possible that we've hardly told you about any of them. And so this presentation is about these 600 improvements. And some of the biggest changes have happened just over the summer, like massive improvements and big features. But and so the thing is that in this presentation, normally I would like walk you through each one, and I'm going to show you them at a high level, but there's kind of no way that I can actually go into every single one of these. Of course, it would take forever. But the first one I want to draw your attention to was a fairly early improvement we made, and it came directly from a launch day customer, a launch day agency customer, actually. And the funny thing is, we implemented it so quickly and so early on, like we talked to the customer and like 3 days later it was live, that we never even announced it. And as useful as it is, and we realized a few weeks ago that almost nobody knows about it. And like a third of our team, like we were on a Slack, like we were in like a status meeting, and I realized that like a third of our team didn't even know about it internally, and it was basically hiding in plain sight. And so what it is the best and easiest white labeling ever, which basically what you do is you can paste. I'll show you how it works. You can paste formatted version of the writing project directly into Google Docs without any of our branding. So it sort of unbrands it, which allows you to put your own brand on it. send it over in Google Docs, and get the approval that you need from your clients. So I've probably implemented white labeling 6 times in my life, maybe more. And when we were talking to this customer, we actually had plans to allow white labeling. We just kind of wanted to solve their immediate need, right? And so I wanted to start with that one because it really kind of, it came from a day one customer on a Zoom call, and we made the improvement to solve their exact problem, probably a problem that you have. And honestly, I think this really exemplifies that whole, we already knew we were going to do white labeling, right? But we did not know that we would do it this way. And by talking to customers, it wound up being the best, the best white labeling, sort of like the simplest white labeling mechanism that we've ever had. And just really solves the customer problem. So that's kind of the way that we've approached RivalFlow for the last year. And now I've only got 619 more of these to show you. So what I'm going to call your attention to now is that each of these things, when we send you the deck, and when we make this, when we put this on YouTube, all these slides will link to the individual features I've made over the course of the last couple of weeks, and going forward, we'll have these little featurettes, right? So there's like, I don't know, we have like 12 of them or something, or whatever, 15 of these things that are on YouTube. You can go to our YouTube channel. It's like YouTube / like the channel is called RivalFlow. But anyway, you'll see these at the bottom, and when you get the slides, you can link to them, and so on. So let me move forward here. So I'm going to break this down into 4 groups, right? There's 4 categories of ways that we kind of have improved. First of all, the things that we were wrong about, right? I already kind of talked about how we were, like, these are the things that we're on the lookout for. The next set is things that we did know that we were planning on doing, right? We had a vision, we just didn't get them out before launch, and so then we implemented them. We almost certainly incorporated a lot of customer feedback into them. Then there's problems that we didn't know existed and we overcame. And finally, things that just weren't possible before. There's some stuff that we've been able to do with RivalFlow that I didn't think we would actually be able to accomplish, for years. Like it's leaps and bounds ahead. And these things often, I mean, I'm not going to take full credit for them. If you look at a lot of AI-based products, right, that you looked at like a year ago or 6 months ago, a lot of things have improved. And the reason is because the base models, right, like the ChatGPT, the LLMs have gotten more powerful, and our understanding of them has improved by quite a bit, right? How to like get the most out of them, how to use them efficiently. So without further ado, let's talk about the things that we were wrong about. So my assumption about RivalFlow was that, well, remember, the first customer of RivalFlow was SpyFu, right? And so we sort of built RivalFlow. I assumed that a customer that would want to use RivalFlow, or that would be willing to commit the time or energy, would already have a site that had that ranked on Google, right? Because they wanted to improve their existing content, right? And so my expectation was that in order to spend, $100 a month or whatever, and the time necessary to improve it, that you would have maybe you'd rank on 1,000 keywords, maybe have 50 pages or 30 pages or whatever, right? But it turns out that lots of customers actually are just getting started. They actually potentially have lots of content, but it doesn't rank very well. Alternatively, lots of our agency customers have a bunch of clients that have relatively small and potentially local sites, right? So when I say that things don't rank well, what I mean is, as I'm the founder of SpyFu and RivalFlow, right? So we use SpyFu data. SpyFu data we search Google 1.5 billion times every month, and we look at in 30 different countries, and we look 100 positions down the SERP. And if So that's our source, right? If you're not ranking in those sort of top 150 billion positions, then that's where we say that it doesn't rank. Not that you don't rank in Google at all, just not very well. So anyway, one of the first things that we've done, and probably 100 of our 600 improvements over the last year, has been about serving the smaller sites better. And this video here will walk you through all those ways. But like the first thing that we did was we sort of realized that the competitor landscape. So like for SpyFu, we have maybe 10 or 15 meaningful competitors. A local lawyer might have 150, 200, competing websites, right? So like the competitor footprint becomes a lot more fragmented the smaller and more local a site becomes. So our first move was to actually expand kind of the overall competitor, the competitor footprint for sites, especially sites that were small and local. And recently, what we've done is we've made the content recommendations much more about what the page is about, right? And less about those individual competitors, because that makes the local site stuff significantly better. And it's a massive win, especially for our agency customers that have lots of those people as customers, as clients. Speaking of agency customers, one of the things that we did, one of the things that we did that like sort of, I wasn't sure how agencies were going to want to use RivalFlow, right? And so we did one of the things that I kind of like hate in the world, which is a contact us for pricing thing on the RivalFlow pricing page. Contact us for agency pricing. We had transparent pricing for everything except for agencies, and what happened would be that when you did that contact us, you'd wind up and coming in and talking to me. So if you're one of those wonderful people who are kind of considerably more patient than I am, and you came and you actually talked to me live, thank you from me and on behalf of everybody that's also an agency customer, because what we learned is that agencies want to use RivalFlow quite a bit differently than single website customers. You have customers and you want to be able to work with them much more flexibly, right? So you want to, you might have a bunch of small customers, and so you want to do like 5 writing projects, 5 content refreshes, or a burst of content refreshes for one client, and maybe not touch them for like 3 months, right? But you want to continue to collect the data so that you can do the reporting. So what we do with agency stuff is you come in. It's like $149. You get 5 websites with that, and then you can add additional sites for $10. And you share all of your writing projects across all of your customers. And that allows you to burst. It allows you to sort of be as flexible as your business needs you to be. You can learn more about that stuff here. All right. So the next group of things that we batch of improvements that we have, or like a category of improvements, are things that we sort of knew that we were going to do already, right? So one of those is that we did know that we wanted to make RivalFlow available to all your team members. You can add as many team members to RivalFlow as you have team members. It's free, right? So that's a big difference between the way that we do teams on SpyFu, and possibly it's kind of one of the reasons, sometimes people ask why we didn't include RivalFlow in SpyFu, and the most important reason is that they're 2 different brands. And sometimes when you have 2 different brands, when you have a brand new concept, it allows you to define it, right? So RivalFlow is all about improve existing content with AI, and SpyFu is about download your competitors' keywords and ads, right? So they're different enough, but close enough that if we just blended them all together, it wouldn't work too well. So the other reason is because it just is structured differently, right? It makes sense for us to allow everyone to add as many team members to RivalFlow, but SpyFu is a research product. It's a bit different. It's just everything's a bit different. So let's see what's next. Right. So this is one of the things, probably my favorite way of using RivalFlow is, which is ironic because it's not the first thing that you see when you come into RivalFlow, but this is, you may be like me, right? You may come to RivalFlow already knowing what page you want to improve, right? You're probably, I think that most people might come to us with that. You may know what keyword you want to improve. So you can go to pick a page right here, right? Go to pick a page and you can just type in that URL, type in that page, or search for it, or search for a keyword. And then you click on the, what is it? Select, right? And then you just do everything just like you normally would inside of a writing project, right? So this is something that we had intended to do. We got some user feedback to do it even better. And once you've done that, you can also change the primary keyword. You can also change the competing page. All of the flexibility that you've ever wanted is included in this pick a page, this pick a page area. Frankly, yeah, honestly, my favorite way to use the product. I don't know about, there's probably, I actually think our team probably prefers to use it this way. The kind of goal of the action stream is really to just make it so that when you come to RivalFlow, that you just always have something to do, right? It's always going to give you a good recommendation. But when you know what you want to do, when you already know, this is the place to go. Right. And so the next thing is, we've always wanted to do this. We want to make it so that this is like sort of the holy grail to us. We can really understand how well RivalFlow is working for customers. And to be honest with you, when we released this feature, I was a little bit nervous because I knew that RivalFlow worked really well for us. And I've been on a lot of sales calls, a lot of a lot of customer demos and so on. And I knew that RivalFlow was working for those customers, but maybe we had like some kind of a sampling error. Maybe the people that wanted to talk to us were the ones that it was working for. And so when we were able to make it so that you could connect, and like we got lots of people connecting, it was possibly the most gratifying experience of my career, right? When we saw these kind of results for customer after customer after customer, right? This is when they implemented their RivalFlow for this particular page. This is the leap that they got. We saw this over and over and over again. It was incredibly validating. And in the weeks to come, we're going to ask people to let us do white papers, to let us feature them, ultimately come onto the sort of RivalFlow podcast, if you will, and talk about the way that they use the product to be successful. So if this is something that you're interested in, allowing us to use sort of unanonymized, like we have a lot of anonymized data that we can share, but it really helps if we can actually share this, share the actual, real customer data with our customers. We're going to be doing that. It's kind of a big push coming soon. But yeah, I'll tell you, I was kind of telling you a minute ago that that what we tend to see is two types of charts: these sort of up and to the right charts, or the flat charts, right? But we never see anything where it goes down, or we very rarely see it go down. And if it's gone down, it's typically something that's going like this, and then you got the RivalFlow line. And if it keeps going down, then it goes like we actually. Okay, so here's what the average thing that comes in is. The average customer is actually coming to us with a down, like a website that's losing traffic, and then they implement the RivalFlow, and oops, sorry, I lost my line. And then it goes up at 8 days later. It goes like this, right? That's the average. The average is 8 days later, you get the RivalFlow lift, and so that average is. Let me remove this. That average is across things that look like this and things that look like this. So it averages out to something that looks like that. It's pretty awesome, actually, if you're a nerd like me, to look at this data and just be like, oh my god, we actually produced like predictable lift for a very large set of customers. So sorry if that's like boring to you, but to me, it's like the most exciting thing in the world. All right, so now let's talk about problems that we overcame. So these are things that we didn't really expect to see. But once we started talking to customers and kind of observing what was happening, we noticed that there was a lot of branded questions in sort of like our results, right? So, this is talking about like the competitor's brand. What are you going to do about that, right? It's not super useful. Let's say this is like a lawyer and it's talking about their law firm name. Like that's the question. That's not great. So the first thing that we did is we started labeling these branded questions and pushing them down the results. But the interesting thing is that over time, what we were able to do is improve, through improvements with ChatGPT and so on, and kind of our use of it, is we actually had these questions sort of restated so that there's not a brand in them, and so we eliminated like probably about 90% of the branded questions. It used to be that you'd see a lot of these branded questions. If you used RivalFlow like a year ago, it'd be like, some of the things would be like all branded questions of your competitor, and it's like that's not super useful, not very actionable. So we got rid of the boring ones, kept the useful ones, and yeah, so that's like a whole, probably honestly, this whole branded thing, probably 15-20 improvements or whatever. Another thing that's gone is questions about cookies and sitemaps and privacy policies. You used to see these types of questions in our results, and it ruined my life. I'd look at this as looking at a customer that just signed up, and I'd see questions about cookies, and I'm like, can we get rid of the cookies? Right? It's just anyway. So we've eliminated. I haven't seen any questions about cookies, privacy policies, sitemap, subscriptions, email signups, newsletters, that kind of thing for a very long time. We've learned how to detect them. You can't, by the way, just say, does it have the word cookie in it? Because what if you're like, actually a cookie manufacturer? We don't want to get rid of those. So we have to detect them in a smart way. And we have. So along that sort of line, and actually, believe it or not, sort of the first step of getting rid of the cookie questions was actually burying them at the bottom of the list. But through that process, we have, what we want to do is make RivalFlow super actionable, right? And this sort of seems like kind of a, like an easy problem, or you may not even notice this, right? But these, you'll feel it, but you don't notice it unless I point it out to you. But we actually put a lot of work into this. So the most important questions to answer are at the top of the list, and the least important questions to answer are at the bottom of the list. Well, that's kind of hard to do when you're just like sort of analyzing the content. It used to be that we would just look at it from the top of the page to the bottom of the page, but now we say, well, is answering this question more important to this topic, right? And so what you see here is why is embroidery generally preferred for business shirts, polo shirts, caps, and jackets? That's a lot more relevant to this page than what is the process of digitizing in embroidery, right? So it's like subtle, but all these things kind of add up to making like RivalFlow super easy to use, and also improving the actual outcomes, right? So if you answer that top question, you're gonna get ranked better than like just answering the questions randomly. So these are things we focus on, like the small things, and the small things wind up adding up, and that's why there's 600 of them. Okay, so I kind of talked about the brands, but one of the things that we learned from customers, I kind of have to give you like the background on this. Like, so we all know that ChatGPT and LLMs in general will like hallucinate, right? And the way that you stop the way that you stop them from hallucinating is you give it a ground truth, right? So you say you must obey, you must sort of like use the facts of this particular document, this ground truth. So we use the competitors page as a ground truth. Well, one of the side effects of doing that is that while the stuff doesn't hallucinate, some of the things that it'll mention will be like the competitor's brand. So as an example, if you're or their brand or their location, obviously their email or their phone number is kind of easy to detect. But imagine like a lawyer in St. Louis, where the competitor is a lawyer in Kansas City, right? So it might actually start referencing Kansas City. Well, you're not in Kansas City. It's a good comparison, but we need to make sure that we detect any time that it's talking about Kansas City in the content that we're telling you to put into your article, right? So we don't want to remove it because it's part of the ground truth. It's part of the gap analysis between the competitor's page and your page, and in some cases that brand is innocuous. It's totally fine. It may be a product that's referencing, but in some cases it's your competitor. Maybe like a competing lawyer's name or something. So what we do is we highlight those, and those go along, by the way, when you copy and paste this into like a Google Doc, right? So you can send it along, have things approved. You can remove them just by removing the highlights. You can uncheck them here, but it's all there to protect you from making any sort of accidental mistake, but while also preventing hallucination and keeping the thing from making up facts, right? So it's this sort of checks and balances. So another thing that we improved is in the beginning, our recommendations. I think the recommendations are pretty good, but they also kind of sucked. And you may have found them to suck. And the reason that our recommendations were sometimes less than great was because we are dealing with SERP diversity, right? So what I mean by that is on a single query, Google will put various different kinds of results. Sometimes it might put like some versus content, and it might put some kind of review content, some how-to stuff, right? All on the same SERP. And so when we're looking for competing pages, if all we use is your competitors outranking you, well, if theirs is a how-to and yours is a versus, or if the topic is ever so slightly different, then that can make a really big impact on the recommendations that we make. And so this is actually one of my favorite improvements, because it's very subtle but incredibly important. So here's an example. This is your page, right? How to make a secret door. This is our old recommendation, which is actually a product page for a hidden secret door. And here's the new one, how to build a secret door. Like perfect, like a perfect match, right? And this is actually something that I used to do as a kind of expert user of RivalFlow. I would trust this sort of recommendation, and then I would say, okay, well, let me just go look at you, because you can go into RivalFlow and change the competitor recommendation. So I would go look at the SERP and make sure that it was the best one. Now, the RivalFlow actually beats what I can do, right? It does at least as well. And when I really look at it, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's actually a better one than I would have even thought. So that's a win. So let me give you some more examples. So this is actually one near and dear to my heart, of course, SpyFu. How to use Google Trends, 10 unique ways to boost your whatever. And so our old one is Google Trends. What is Google Trends versus how to use Google Trends, which is the new one. So like, the thing is that these differences appear to be really subtle, but keep in mind that this core recommendation is actually what, everything else that RivalFlow does is a derivative of these better recommendations, right? What kind of questions does this article answer that this one doesn't? Which questions do they answer more thoroughly? Well, when you're looking at this one, that's about the same topic, that's like a spot on for the exact same time, even though these both rank on the same keyword, this is going to be much better targeted to this article, right? So here's some more, right? Content strategy versus content marketing. This one is how to develop a content strategy. This one is the line between content marketing strategy and content strategy. Is SEO dead in 2023? How about is SEO dead in 2024? But how about no, here's what's changing. No, the playbook must change. Beautiful. How do search engines work versus the 11 best search engines and versus how do search engines work, Google search queries. So plenty of these results. Honestly, maybe one of the more impactful things, but like if I don't show it to you, all you'll do is sort of feel it, right? You know, and I want you to understand that the product is like wildly better than it was before. And we're going to keep getting better at those things. Those are, you know, that's kind of like a relatively new release. I don't remember exactly when we rolled that out, but it's like a month ago, maybe, right? So let's talk about some things that weren't even possible before. Some of these things I wouldn't have predicted we would have been able to do possibly ever, you know, like AI is amazing. Like I wish that I could like freeze my moment in time so that I could just sit here and just like make product innovations before anybody else knew about it. Because like AI is just like moving at a very quick rate. And so it's made some things possible that we weren't able to do. And let's talk about some of those. So in RivalFlow 1.0, when we launched, we sort of said like, here's an example of how you could combine your original answer with their added detail. And it's like this kind of like crappy, okay, like GPT a long time ago, wall of text, right? You're probably not going to want to post exactly this thing, but it's a good starting point, right? And now in RivalFlow 2.0, we're saying, here's the gaps. And here's the copy, the exact copy to paste. And here's exactly where you put it, right? So we're talking about much, much better copy, formatted to match, to like line, you know, to fit directly into your page. I mean, this is, you know, beautifully formatted. And we show you right where to put it. This is one of my favorite features. And frankly, like a massive time saver. Like if you kind of think about kind of the annoying part of RivalFlow in the beginning was like, okay, so cool, you found me some, you know, you found me a gap. Like, okay, so now where does this fit into the article, right? Like where should I put it? And you almost have to go back to the drawing board and be like, I thought that I was going to not have to read my article. I thought that I wasn't going to have to do anything. And so so we brought that along, right? Now you can just click the you click this button, show me where it goes, and it pops up this this outline of your article and shows you right in your outline. Wait a minute. Wow, that was weird. I had like a thumb thing on my mouse and it like scrolled me back real quick. So it shows you right where to put it. And it's actually I was surprised. I was surprised that we were able to do this as well as we are. Wow. I'm not able to draw directly on my screen now. Without it's like off a little bit. Anyway, here we go. So then you can click on the link, right? Like this little guy right here. You see this link? Any of these links that you see will take you directly to what it looks like on the page itself. So that's another way of seeing right where to put it, right? So here we show you the outline. Just kind of like get rid of all my drawings. Here we show you the outline. I don't know where my mouse is. There it is. There it is. Here we show you the outline, and then here you can click on it and actually see where it goes on the page. And this is what it looks like. So we have a similar way of doing this for questions you partially answer. So this here is how we handle questions that you that you didn't answer, right? Questions you didn't answer, if you think about it, how are we going to highlight that? It's not easy to highlight something that you don't already have. So we highlight the text that's just before what you need to replace, right? So that's how that works. So with questions you partially answer, we want to make sure that we incorporate everything that you already have, right? So like, here's how the question is currently answered, right? You answer this. We don't want to modify what you're doing. We don't want to change, you're already ranking on this stuff. It looks pretty good. So what we want to do is include all of what you've got and improve upon it. So we add some additional content that is how your competitor answered it more thoroughly, right? So you can mouse over this when you're looking at a question, a partially answered question. It'll highlight the part, and then so you can separate, like you can be sure that we're not removing any of your already good content, if that makes sense. So the way that you do this from sort of a practical perspective is you find this, you do a find and replace. You find this in your content, or you could just like click on it right here. And then you replace it with this part down here. So you copy this to your clipboard and you just paste it into your content, and all this formatting will come along with it. That's right. And so we just show you right where it is on the page when you click that button, and then you just paste it in and replace that in your editor. So let's talk about what's next. So one of the things that we're working on in RivalFlow is how to adjust these things. So like I say that you can take this content and paste it directly onto your website, but and then it'll flow perfectly. But sometimes the content that you have isn't necessarily the content that you aspire to, and sometimes the content that comes out may be something that you want to adjust. It's factually correct, but maybe you want to add a quote, or maybe you want to have it have an analogy, or maybe you want to change the tone somewhat. Maybe you want to shorten it, right? And so these are like the sort of point and click controls that we want to add in to RivalFlow as we move forward, to help you to improve your content even more, right? So the idea is we really want to make the content as good as it can possibly be, even if that means making it better than what you currently have, right? Like what I mean is it currently will just flow right into your content, but maybe you want to make it actually kind of even better. Okay, so then what we want to do is what we're working on is with the Google Search Console stuff, right? When we're doing our reporting, we want to show you the before and after shots, right? We want to say, here's what your page looked like before. Here's what your page looked like after RivalFlow. Here's the writing project that you implemented, so that we can really connect the dots for you and for your customers about where how you got these these results that shot up, right? So we want to show the before and the after. You can compare them side by side. And oh no, my camera's going to start following me if I don't put my hand up. So that's coming soon as well. So the next thing is content that doesn't show up in SERPs yet, and I've kind of hinted at this before. And this is a topic that's pretty personal to me. And it's actually also the feature that's most asked for by customers, right? More customers have asked for us to help them rank the content that doesn't rank. And what I mean by content that doesn't rank is that it doesn't show up in any of the 1.5 billion searches that we do every month. It may actually potentially rank, but it's underrated, right? And this is a really difficult problem to solve, but we actually have already solved it. So this is like the thing that this is the cool thing about this presentation, is that when this presentation started, this was one of the things that we were going to do soon, but we actually just released this. It's a brand new feature, and it's sort of hidden on the bottom of Pick a Page. It's in this Pick a Page spot where you can hit add a page at the bottom of Pick a Page. And I'm going to actually walk you through this one, okay? Because one of the people that was on my my original launch webinar, see if I can do this without breaking everything. One One of the people who was on my original launch webinar was my sister, Tammy. And this is actually her website, Brightside Mortgage. She's a mortgage broker here in Arizona. She also has does mortgage broking. She also has offices in like California and Washington. And she watched the original RivalFlow launch and came over right after RivalFlow. I'd actually already told my sister about RivalFlow, but until you really see it like live, you know, I don't think that she fully understood how it would impact her business. So she came over to my office like a half hour after the original launch, and she's like, "Oh, Mike, I saw the webinar. I want to like use this on my website." And so we loaded up her site into RivalFlow, and it has this sort of, I mean, most of her traffic seems to go to her homepage. And so the things that show up in RivalFlow are kind of like these, you know, like members of her team, like sort of profiles and like contact us. And I'm like, oh no. Turns out this happens for a lot of customers that are small or local. And she's not super local, but she actually has quite a bit of content on her site. If you go look in here, she publishes things on her blog like pretty often, every week it looks like, right? And but when you look in here, the content is relatively thin. It's not particularly deep content, but I'm like, this is perfect for RivalFlow, right? And but the downside is she doesn't show up anywhere. We don't have any recommendations. Nothing works. So with this new add page, the ability to work on content that doesn't rank yet, we can add one of her pieces of content in here, and I can hit add this page, and it will actually find a competitor, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to read her content, and it's going to figure out what she should be ranking on, and it's going to target a keyword that's not super difficult to rank on. Maybe it's like a piece of content that's like, or sorry, a keyword that's like 1,000 searches or 2,000 searches per month, and it isn't super competitive. The idea is to get her a foothold, some traction on that page, and then we can do additional RivalFlow things. Once we have some search vectors, we'll start to understand how to continually improve that page. And that's the thing about RivalFlow, is that you can hit it multiple times. You can continually improve your page, right? So, so there's that one. Let's see. Oh, so I can actually use that one. That's fine. My bad. Oh, where did I go? I left it. Well, here's a couple of other ones that I built, and so we can look at one of these projects. Ultimately, what happened is that it selected a solid competitor for her. This is save for a down payment, and it's a perfect topic. If we wanted to, we could change this. We can choose a different competitor page. Actually, apparently, oh, because I've already generated it. My bad. We have to wait until we haven't. Mild demo fail. See if this thing goes fast. Since I already generated it, it might actually redo the whole calculation. I kind of want to show you that you can change these recommendations though. I feel like we should change this loader. There we go. So perfect. So so I can go in and look at the competitor content. So it's selected this one, but I could choose any of these, right? Anything that I want, or I could change the keyword. These are all keywords that this page could be authoritative on. It's content. This is what she seems to be wanting to rank on, or could be ranking on. Like, we're sort of using all of our keyword knowledge to find the best topic for her content to rank on. So you can change these. I'll do it. I'll just show you that it can happen. We'll change it to this nerd wallet one, and then bam, and we can accept that recommendation, and it'll build us a writing project for it. I'll jump in here and show you one of these. So you see, like, her page has 684 words, and the competing page has 1,700. And what we can see is, here's the questions that she doesn't answer. When we click on this guy, it's going to show us right where to put it on the page. And let me see another one. Yeah, it shows us right where to put it. Insert the new content here. Beautiful questions. And here's the partially answered ones that I was just showing you. You highlight the, you see how the highlighting works. Let me do it a little bit. There we go. So here's where the highlighting happens. Mouse over it. And you see it'll even highlight the stuff when it's, when it's putting the, when it's inserting something into it. So it's highlighting your original stuff, and then it's inserting this into the middle of it, but it's not deleting your existing content, if that makes sense. So, I guess I'll show you this one thing, right? I was showing you this copy all questions. Show you a secret trick, doc.new, and we can paste this in here. Got it. Thank you. Okay, and we'll paste this in. Remember how I was showing you that super simple white labeling? That's how that works. It goes in there, and then you can obviously comment these. Gives you this nice, what is this? An outline over here. Really nice little outline. Beautiful thing for you to send over to your customers. So let me go back to the presentation from current slide. There we go. All right. So the ultimate goal of RivalFlow as we move forward is content optimization autopilot, right? So that's where we're heading. Ultimately, I want to make it so that you really just, ideally you just approve the changes, and the changes go in automatically. And we've rewritten things in a way that's that just makes your charts go up and to the right. And then we'll be able to prove it to you, right? Because we're connected all the way through from the first screenshot to the last screenshot. We're going to show you your improvement and exactly what caused those things to happen. And ultimately, if something bad happens, we'll always be able to roll it back, right? Nothing bad really does happen, but you'll have that sort of auditability and the confidence moving forward. So what can I do for you guys in terms of questions? I have to somehow find, my screen's all rearranged now, so I got to try and find our stuff. Here we go.
Mike, we have a couple questions here. Cora asked, can I use it before I publish a new page?
You could do that. You could use it before you publish a new page by you'd have to publish it someplace that RivalFlow could access it, right? So we've tried this with like Google Docs, so that you could just share it with a Google Docs link. But for some reason, Google Docs doesn't work. But you could use, a WordPress pre-publish area. You could use, let's see, anything where there's a URL that you can share to it, but it doesn't have to be a public URL. Does that make sense?
Another one kind of in line with that is, how long after I publish can I use this feature?
Oh, instantly. As long as it's there, we're good to go.
And then we have another one that sounds pretty important. How often should we update a single piece of content?
Well, we generally don't make a recommendation more than once every 3 weeks. So we don't make a recommended, we don't tell you to do anything outside of 3 weeks. But like, honestly, I think kind of like a 3-month cycle is probably pretty solid. It really kind of depends on the content and whether or not you feel like you're making really solid, improvements. I'd say somewhere between 3 weeks and 3 months is probably the optimal cycle. Definitely not sooner than 3 weeks, I don't think.
I have one more, but this one I have to display on the screen.
Let's see if I can see it. Oh, thank you for whoever said that. my wife probably or something. Okay, are we wrapping up? So one thing that we can do for you guys is we're gonna send out this video. We're gonna send out the slides, and you can follow us on LinkedIn. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can follow me personally on LinkedIn at Mr. Spy. When we send these out, they're going to have the links to all of the videos, so that you can see the individual features and how you can how you can use them, kind of like in intricate details. Looks like we have another one. Can you incorporate? Oh, if you have 4 competitors that outrank you with 4 different articles, can you incorporate 4 of those into one recommendation? They kind of clobber each other, right? It's fairly common. Yeah, like, so we've definitely tried doing something like that, right? But I feel like the better way to do it is to do them one at a time. And so going to that kind of idea where you might want to do how frequently should you update? If you want to, do the first competitor, and then the second competitor, and then the third competitor. The problem is that I don't think that the results will be predictable or cohesive if you're trying to like combine everything together. It could really start getting kind of clumsy, and I don't know that it's a bad thing, but it just isn't super easy. You could definitely do it manually that way, and screw it, I'll show you how you would do that. Okay, if you want to do that, because that's just, it's your choice, right? You can go in here. You can choose, I'll just go into SpyFu or whatever. I'm going to go into SpyFu. Right, yeah. And I'm going to go to pick a page. And then I'm going to just choose one of these. And right, the downside is these take a second, and I'm going to choose whichever competitor I want, right? So like, let's say that I'm going to use this competitor as my default. It's my default competitor. Sounds good. I'm going to accept that. And then I'm going to, which one did I choose? Search operators. So I'm going to go back to search operators, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to choose a different competitor this time, right? So I'll do that. Oh, ironically, those are the same competitors now, right? Oh wait, no, this is SEMrush. So I'm gonna then accept that recommendation, and it's gonna run that one for me, right? And so once I have those writing projects, I could like copy those anywhere, execute on those. I could put them both into the same spreadsheet. The same Google Doc. So I could go in here, I could export, paste it into Google Doc, and I'd have all the recommendations. And then it's just a matter of sort of merging those things together, but you kind of have to do it manually. Or I guess you could use, ChatGPT or something to be like, combine all these things together into one super answer or whatever. O1 might be able to do something like that. We haven't been able to make that something that's super predictable. And ultimately, my goal is to produce solid results predictably in a way that can't do you harm, right? And so if you want to like roll the dice a little bit, go ahead, roll the dice. It'll work. It might work. I don't guarantee that process, but it might not be bad. Sounds like something to try. Any other questions? All right, let me just throw up my last slide again, and we will be done. All right, thanks everyone for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the latest release of RivalFlow as much as we've enjoyed making it for you. Have a wonderful afternoon, and if I could find my thing, I could hit the end. Have a good one. Oh, wait.